Imagine waking up at 50 and realizing your retirement account is empty. No 401k, no IRA, no investment account. Quietly growing in the background. No backup plan waiting to save you later. Just you, your paycheck, and the uncomfortable question you've been avoiding. What now? Most people assume this means the game is over. They picture working forever, depending on family, running out of money in old age, living with permanent regret because they started too late. But the truth is far more complicated than that, and strangely more hopeful, because having no retirement savings at 50 is serious, but it is not the same thing as having no options. What happens next depends less on your past mistakes and more on the 3 decisions people make immediately after this realization. And most people get all 3 wrong. Stay until the end, because one smart move at 50 can be worth more than 10 confused years of panic. If this is you, the first thing you usually feel is not logic. It's panic, a wave of panic that hits the moment you do the math in your head. You 50. Retirement used to feel far away. Now it feels close enough to hear footsteps. Then comes shame, because you start comparing yourself to everyone else. The friend with the paid-off house, the coworker bragging about their 401k, the couple taking vacations while talking about early retirement, and quietly you wonder, what did they figure out that I missed? Then regret arrives. You think about the years you could have started. Age 30, age 35, that raise you spent, that bonus you never invested, that account you meant to open next year, and now, next year became 50. Then comes the deepest fear of all. Am I going to work forever? Will I still be answering emails at 70, standing on my feet at 72, pretending I am fine when my body is tired? This is where many people break. Not financially, emotionally, because the money problem is real, but the emotional spiral is what destroys people first. Once shame takes over, people stop looking at numbers. They avoid logging into bank accounts. They ignore statements. They delay decisions. They tell themselves they'll deal with it next month. Then next month becomes next year. And that delay becomes more expensive than the original mistake. The dangerous part of being behind at 50 is not starting late. It's freezing now. Because even at 50, time still has value, but only if you move before fear convinces you to stand still. Now let us separate fear from reality. Having no retirement savings at 50 does not automatically mean disaster. But if nothing changes from this point forward, the future usually becomes narrower, tighter, and more stressful. The first likely outcome is dependence on Social Security alone. For many people, Social Security can cover the basics: housing, food, utilities, essential expenses. But it rarely replaces your full working income. It usually means a smaller life than the one you imagined. Less travel, less freedom, more budgeting, more saying no. And if you still carrying debt into retirement, even basics can feel heavy. The second outcome is working longer than planned. Not always because you want to, because you need to. That may mean staying in your current job into your late 60s, or taking whatever work you can find later. And that sounds manageable when you 50, but work feels different at 67 than it does at 50. Energy changes, health changes, the labor market changes. Some employers quietly prefer younger workers. Some industries move fast. Some bodies simply wear down. The third outcome is reduced flexibility when life gets unpredictable. A health issue, a layoff at 61, a parent needing care, a car replacement, a roof leak, a recession at the wrong time. When you have savings, problems are stressful. When you have no savings, problems become emergencies. That is where many people feel trapped, not because they were reckless, because they had no margin. And margin matters more with age, not less. The fourth outcome is emotional pressure in your 60s. Money stress does to disappear because retirement age arrives. For many people, it intensifies. Every purchase feels heavier, every bill feels louder, every market headline feels personal. You start asking questions like, can I afford to stop working? What if I live longer than expected? What if I need medical care? What if one thing goes wrong? That constant uncertainty drains joy from years that were supposed to feel freer. But here is the critical truth most people miss. At 50, the danger is not having zero saved. The danger is assuming zero means zero options, because if you believe it's safe already over, you want to change anything, and that belief creates the future you were afraid of in the first place. Now, here's the part that causes the real damage. It's not low savings, it's not starting late. It's believing that because you read behind it, it's too late. That belief sounds harmless. It sounds like realism. It sounds mature. It sounds like accepting the truth. But in practice, it becomes a trap. Because once someone believes the game is over, they stop playing intelligently. They do nothing. They keep saying they'll deal with it next year. They avoid looking at numbers because numbers feel painful. And 5 years disappears faster at 50 than it ever did at 30. Some people go the other direction. They start overspending. They think, why sacrifice now? Why budget now? Why save now? So they upgrade the car, take the trips, use lifestyle as medication, because if the future feels lost, the present becomes expensive. Others panic and gamble. They chase crypto miracles, day trading fantasies, double your money fast schemes, risky bets dressed up as opportunity. They don't need a plan, they need rescue, and rescue is where people become vulnerable. Some ignore debt completely. Minimum payments, high interest, no strategy. They assume retirement is the main problem, while debt quietly drains every paycheck that could have built progress. But the most common mistake of all, they delay another 5 years. They tell themselves, I'll start at 55. I'll fix it when work slows down. I'll focus as once the kids are done. You'll get serious after this year. And suddenly they're 55 saying the same sentence again. Here's the truth at 50. Losing time is worse than lacking money because money can still be earned. Expenses can still be cut. Debt can still be attacked. Income can still be a rise. But the years you waste, it's too late. Those never come back. Now let's talk about the part almost nobody says out loud. A lot can still go right at 50, not fantasy, not overnight, millionaire nonsense. Real, boring, powerful progress. Because while 50 may feel late, it is not the end of the financial timeline. For many people, you may still have 15 to 20 working years left. That is not a small window. That is enough time to change direction, rebuild momentum, and create stability. And for many careers, your 50s can be your peak earning years. You have experience, relationships, skills, professional judgment younger workers don't yet have. Many people earn more at 50 than they did at 30. That matters because higher income creates leverage. A person earning more with intention can make up ground faster than a younger person earning less with no discipline. You may also have access to catch-up contribution options in retirement accounts. That means the system actually allows older workers to save more precisely because time is shorter. It's one of the few moments where policy quietly helps you. And life expenses often begin to shift. Kids may leave home. Daycare ends. Activities shrink. College costs eventually pass. Some debts get paid off. Your household cash flow can improve dramatically if you redirect it instead of inflating your lifestyle. You may also have future flexibility. Younger people downsizing later, moving to a lower cost area, selling a larger home, working part-time instead of full retirement. Retirement is not one rigid event. It can be redesigned, and yes, compound growth still matters. No, It's not as powerful as starting at 25. But people underestimate what 15 years of disciplined investing can still do. If someone saves aggressively from 50 to 67, consistently invests, controls fees, and avoids panic, they can still build meaningful assets. Not because magic happened, because consistency still works. Even modest growth, stacked over many years, becomes real money. This is where many people get trapped. By comparison, they compare themselves to someone who started at 25. Wrong comparison. Compare yourself to the version of you that does nothing from 50 to 67. That version is the real cost. The truth is simple. You are late. You are not finished. Late means urgency. Finished means hopelessness. Those are not the same thing, and confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes people make. So if you re-50 and behind, what do you actually do now? Not theory, not motivational slogans, a real recovery plan. Because once panic is replaced with process, progress becomes possible. Step 1. Know your number. Most people avoid this step because they think the truth will feel bad. But uncertainty feels worse than truth. You need 5 numbers: your total debt, every balance, every payment, no hiding, your monthly expenses, what it truly costs to run your life, your expected Social Security, not guesses, use estimates, your current income, what comes in today, and your retirement gap. The difference between what future life may cost and what current assets plus future benefits can realistically cover. This step matters because vague fear keeps people frozen. Clear numbers create decisions. You cannot solve a mystery budget. You can solve a math problem. Step 2. Increase savings rate ruthlessly. Once you know the gap, the next move is obvious. More of your income must stay with you. This does not always mean suffering. It means directing money with purpose. Automate retirement contributions so saving happens before spending. Redirect raises immediately. If income goes up, savings should rise first. Cut invisible spending. Subscriptions you forgot, impulse upgrades, convenience habits that became permanent. Lifestyle inflation disguised as normal life. The goal is not perfection. The goal is creating monthly surplus and turning it into ownership. At 50, savings rate matters more than appearances. Step 3. Eliminate high-interest debt. High-interest debt is a retirement killer, especially credit cards. If you're re-earning 8% in investments but paying 24% on revolving debt, the math is punishing you. Attack toxic debt first. Credit cards, predatory loans, expensive balances draining cash flow. Every balance you remove creates future breathing room. Every payment eliminated becomes money that can be redirected toward investing. Debt freedom is not just emotional relief, it is future income recovery. Step 4. Extend earning power. Many people think the only lever is saving more. Often, the bigger lever is earning longer and smarter. Delaying retirement even a few years can change everything. More years to save, fewer years withdrawals are needed. Higher Social Security in many cases, that is a triple benefit. You can also build side income, freelance work, consulting, weekend projects, skills you already have monetized differently. And upgrading skills at 50 is not too late. It may be one of the highest ROI moves available. Better software skills, management skills, licenses, industry specialization. Later, part-time work can bridge retirement instead of forcing full-time stress. The goal is not endless labor. The goal is optionality. Step 5. Invest simply. This is where desperate people get hurt. When someone feels behind, they become vulnerable to catch-up fast stories. Hot stocks, crypto rescue fantasies, options trading, guaranteed income pitches, complex products with high fees. Do not confuse urgency with recklessness. The smarter path is usually simple. Diversified low-cost index funds, broad market exposure, consistent contributions, low fees, long-term discipline, simple, is boring. Boring is often what works. You do not need a miracle. You need a repeatable system. Because at 50, the comeback rarely comes from one heroic move. It comes from 5 practical moves repeated for years. Now here's something surprising. Starting at 50 comes with disadvantages. Less time, less margin for error, more urgency. But it also comes with hidden advantages. Younger people often don't have. Older beginners frequently invest better. Why? Because they are less emotional. A 25-year-old often invests with excitement. A 50-year-old usually invests with purpose. They've already seen bubbles come and go. They've seen people brag during booms and disappear during crashes. They're less interested in hype. That maturity matters. They also tend to have clearer priorities. At 50, many people know what actually matters now. Security, freedom, peace of mind, not impressing strangers. That makes decision-making cleaner. There are often fewer vanity purchases too. The need to prove success through cars, status spending, trendy upgrades, or expensive signaling starts to fade for many people. That money can finally be redirected into assets. Discipline is often stronger as well. You've managed jobs, family pressure, setbacks, responsibilities. Consistency feels more normal than it did at 28, and urgency creates focus. A younger person may say, "I'll start next year." Someone at 50 knows next year has a cost. That awareness can become fuel. They automate faster. They procrastinate less. They take boring consistency seriously. And boring consistency is where wealth is usually built. This is why some late starters outperform people who began earlier but never got serious. They wasted decades dabbling. You begin with intention. Sometimes the best investors are not early, they serious. Early is powerful, but seriousness, repeated for years, can still change everything. From this point forward, there are usually 2 paths. Not 10, not 100. Just 2, shame avoidance. This is the silent path. You feel behind, so you avoid the topic. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. You keep spending the same way. Keep carrying debt. Keep hoping something changes on its own. You don't look at accounts because it feels uncomfortable. You don't make a plan because plans would force honesty. So life continues, but the math gets worse. Then age 55 arrives, and the same problem is still there. Except now, there are fewer working years left, less time for compounding, more pressure, more regret, more fear. Nothing dramatic happened, just 5 years of drift, and drift is expensive. Honest reset at 50. This path begins with discomfort. You face the numbers, you admit where you are, you stop pretending future, you will magically fix everything. Then you start making practical moves. Debt gets attacked. Savings become automatic. Spending gets intentional. Investments begin growing. Retirement becomes a strategy instead of a fantasy. And by 60, something powerful can happen. Not perfection. Progress. Debt is lower. Your accounts are larger. Your confidence has returned. You understand your options. A real plan exists that changes how you sleep, how you work, how you think about the future. Because the greatest gift of an honest reset is not only money, it is control. The next 10 years will pass either way. The question is whether they pass by accident or by design. If you have no retirement savings at 50, hear this clearly. You lost time. You did not lose your future. Those are 2 very different things. Time matters. Starting earlier would have helped. More years would have helped. Better habits sooner would have helped. That part is true. But the worst moment is not being behind. The worst moment is deciding that behind means helpless. Because once someone believes they are helpless, they stop acting. They stop saving, stop planning, stop learning, stop trying, and that belief does more damage than the missing money ever did. Plenty of people waste their 30s and recover. They get serious later. They simplify, they focus, they rebuild. But plenty of people waste their 50s too. Not because they could recover, because embarrassment kept them frozen. Because shame is expensive. Because denial steals years quietly. Because as pride says, I'll deal with it later. Listen carefully. The market does not care when you begin. Compound growth does not shame you. A budget does not judge you. A plan does not ask where you were at 35. Only people do that. Math simply responds to action. So if today is the day you finally look at the numbers, good. If today is the day you cut the debt, good. If today is the day you open the account, increase the contribution, make the plan, ask for help, reset your direction, good. Because momentum always starts small. And small steps taken now are stronger than perfect intentions delayed again. 50 is late, 55 is later. Today is earlier than tomorrow.